Hello, beautiful evening, friends, and welcome to Fitness Talks with Anand. This is our season 2 and episode 3. Our guest today is Dr. Sathe. He's a reputed sexologist, and today we will be continuing the second part of premarital counseling and how it is important, and along with that, how exercise plays a role in this. So, today, Doctor will be elaborating on that. Okay, we'll just get Dr. Sathe online. Hi, Dr. Sathe. I have sent you the request. Once you accept it, we'll go live together.
So it's good.
Go out only.
If it is very urgent. Hello, beautiful evening, doctor.
Yes,
Welcome to
good
Fitness
evening.
Talks
How are
with
you
Anand.
doing?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Okay. So as I was telling the viewers that we will be discussing again we'll continue the same topic, premarital counseling, and its
Yeah,
relation with exercise also today, how exercise plays a role in that. So over to you, sir.
okay. Uh, see, getting married is, I believe, one of the biggest investments that you make in the life.
Right.
Uh, After perhaps buying a home and all that, which is really a financial investment only. Uh,
Correct.
the marriage is also an emotional investment. And, whenever you connect with some person, there is going to be an issue where you're no longer going to become a person who is a single person, an individual person, but you will become a couple. And then
Right.
there's always going to be an issue of adjustment. And I will first initially talk a little bit about how mental adjustment is really important, because when you invest in getting married, you spend a huge amount of money on getting for the marriage expenses, and
True.
then after that, you realize that if you're not compatible with either emotionally or on a mental plane, then it becomes really very difficult. So,
Correct.
whenever a person comes to me for premarital counseling, I usually sit and chat with him and try to understand what his expectation out of marriage is. And
Right.
there are a few tests that I do. Some of them are emotional tests by which I'm able to gauge as to how he thinks and what are his expectations. Now, this I started doing after I got a few cases. In one particular case, I saw that when the couple came to me, the
Mm-hmm.
husband told me that, and the husband and the wife, in fact, both of them agreed and told me that on the first night itself, the husband told his wife that, look, we are going to stay together for our whole life like brother and sister. We are not, I'm not really interested in sex. So this is how it's going to be. And they had lived together for almost 5 or 7 years when they decided to come to me. She said that if this was your idea, then why didn't you make it clear in the beginning? That you are not interested in sex.
Right.
So, and then obviously their marriage was on the rocks. Finally, they had a divorce and all that. But all these things would have been avoided had they come for premarital counseling. And I would have been able to tell the person that, look, sex is an integral part of marriage. And if you're not interested in sex, why are you getting married just because your family is telling you to get married? So
Correct.
there are some tests which we do, and especially if a couple comes together, then we also do it for the couple so that we know whether there are any compatibility issues. Because
Right.
knowing a
So
devil,
if they are not, so if they are not aware of
yeah,
these things before, you
yeah,
can test it
correct.
and find out. Okay.
Yeah, we can test out. So instead of going to a astrologer and trying to find out whether your horoscope matches, this is a much more scientific way of doing it, where we can find out from the couple by talking
Correct.
to them individually and by doing some certain psychological tests whether there would be any issues. Because if there are any issues, then it's better to remain forewarned. There is one particular movie which I would like to tell you, a Marathi movie, that Mala Kahi's Problem Nahi. It's a beautiful Marathi movie, where that girl is very aggressive, and in typical Marathi language, she is very fatkal type. So each time anyone who comes in front of her, maybe her father-in-law, mother-in-law, or her husband, she always gives him a piece of her mind. And then finally, when her father is able to explain to her that just because I told you that if anything doesn't, agree to you, you must immediately tell that upfront. That doesn't mean that you have to be rude in telling that. So that the way in which you can express the same thing need not necessarily be rude. It's a nice movie. You can see it someday. I suggest all my
surely.
patients to see it sometime. Well,
Wonderful,
that is
yes.
one issue. Secondly, when it comes to the sexual act itself, what I have seen is that those people who are physically very fit rarely have complaints regarding sexuality, because the sexual act is extremely physical. It is not that it is only a mental issue. And if your body is aching, if your back is aching, if your legs are paining, if your thighs are paining, then obviously the sexual act is not going to happen. And very often people come and tell me that they want to last longer in bed. So they don't want to get premature ejaculation. And then I tell them, look, I understand why you want to overcome this problem. So if you want to overcome the problem, first of all, your heart and your lungs should be strong enough to, do the act for about, say, 15 or 20 minutes. So if you get tired in between, then your brain will tell the penile area, sort of the pelvic area, to ejaculate and finish off the act. So that is why you have to do endurance exercises. And in case you think in terms of the spine and all the joints of the body, then you must do flexibility exercises like yoga, or even if you go to a gym and do those exercises properly, then your body will remain supple and flexible, and it will definitely help you and your partner to have a proper sexual act. So these are regarding the strength and the cardiovascular issues of the body. Another important factor is considering obesity. Now, obesity is pretty common nowadays, and very, very a large number of prepubertal and postpubertal girls and boys become obese.
In fact, India is the highest
and
ranking first in obesity.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I have found out is that very often it is the bad eating habits where there is a lot of carbohydrate eating and very little of protein and fat eating in the body. And that is really what is contributing to obesity. Now, for such people, in addition to motivating them to go to a gym, I suggest to them that they must do something that I call as intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting is basically a new concept which was introduced by Dr. Jason Fung. He's a nephrologist from Canada. He's from Toronto, and he did a lot of research on his patients. And what he found out was that those people who eat only 2 meals a day are much more healthier and fitter. So what he says is that you should eat only lunch and dinner, or dinner and evening supper. He says that there should be a 16-hour gap between 2 meals, and then the second meal should be after 8 hours. So if you have a lunch at, say, 1 o'clock and then have dinner at 9 o'clock, then do not have a breakfast and have lunch directly at 1 o'clock. Now, this concept sometimes becomes difficult to understand for a few people, and even when I tried it for the first time, I was a little skeptical because my habit is to have breakfast and go to the clinic, because then I wasn't sure what time I would come home. So initially it took me about a month or so to get adjusted to this particular regimen, but then finally when I got adjusted, I realized that this is really working out well. And the key to all this thing is insulin, secretion of insulin in your body. So what he says is that if your body secretes insulin all the time, then you will keep putting on weight. And if you are able to give a 16-hour gap then
Mm.
the body insulin secretions are on the lower
Secretion will be
side.
less.
Yeah, so if I find anybody who's come to me who is fat, then I do his HbA1c test, I serum insulin fasting test, as well as I check whether there is history of diabetes in his family. So
Mm.
if
Mm.
that is there and if he is obese, then he needs intensive counseling and follow-up for pre-diabetes. And I have seen that those people who are able to follow the instructions and do exercise for about 40 minutes to one hour in the morning, at least five
Mm.
days in a week, they can shed anything up to 8 to 10 kilos in about 5 to 6 months. And that is a
Yeah.
slow and a gradual loss, which is, I think,
Yes.
better than
Advice.
crash
Yes.
loss.
Very true.
Sometimes, those people say that, how does this work? So I explain to them that, look, supposing you have a water tank below your house and you have a water tank above your house, then
Mm.
if there is water stored below your house, that's of no use to you. You have to have
Correct.
a pump which can pump the
Mm.
water to the overhead tanks. So insulin
Yeah.
acts as a pump. What it does, it takes the sugar from your blood and pushes it
Mm.
into the cells of the body,
Mm.
where it helps the cells to function properly, because the cells work on the principle of glucose oxidation. Now,
Right.
glucose oxidation, for that you require sugar and oxygen. So if the insulin is, sort of acting excessively, then there is something that we know as the insulin resistance, where the
Right.
insulin cannot push enough sugar because the cell develops some kind of a resistance towards the insulin. And then the
Mm.
body keeps producing more and more insulin. And when the
Right.
body produces more insulin, you feel like eating more and more, and you
Yes.
get cravings for food.
Mm.
And
Mm.
if, in order to break the cycle, you have to do something known as the intermittent fasting, so that when your body is on a fasting mode, then
Mm.
your body continues to use fat that is stored from the liver. And
Right.
it burns fat as a fuel rather than sugar as a fuel,
Correct.
and helps you to lose weight. So this
Correct.
concept, I think, now is quite popular amongst all you
Yes.
people, and you
Yes.
do advise all these things. So
Yes.
all your new dietitians and all those, I believe, are able to counsel them and talk to them and explain to them how intermittent fasting would
In the
help.
fasting is done. Yes.
Secondly, what I have seen
Here
is a
I also
total,
want to
if
clear
you are
something for
able,
the viewers, doctor. What
yeah,
a lot of people are recommending intermittent fasting, but they are not explaining it properly. Where, as you mentioned, that people are eating more of carbohydrates and less of fat and proteins. So, in this
yeah,
intermittent fasting, in those two meals, we need to accommodate a good amount of protein, fat, carbohydrates, and fiber. That is what a
correct,
lot of people miss out on. So, that's for the viewers.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Please go ahead.
In fact, the Indian diet is so rich in carbohydrates that even if we tell them that you totally try to skip yet carbohydrate will come in your meal.
Yes, yes.
So
It's
what
in
I tell them is,
everything.
you try, yeah, everything contains carbs. So I tell them, look, if you want to eat a pizza,
Yeah.
don't eat the base. That is going to make you fat. The toppings are
Correct.
not going to make you fat. Cheese doesn't make you fat. And
Correct.
the toppings are absolutely vegetables, and for sort of capsicum and all those things, they are not going to make you
Yes.
fat. So if you
Correct.
throw away the base and eat only the top, that is fine. Or at home,
Perfect.
if you prepare a pizza, I tell
Yeah.
them to prepare it in a bhakri. Make a
Correct, sir.
bhakri of
Uh,
sorghum jwari, we call it, and then put the
right.
toppings on it, and it becomes a thin crust pizza. If you eat it,
Perfect.
you don't even understand that it is not made of bread.
Correct. Correct.
So
So true.
this is
So true.
something which
Thin crust pizza.
yeah, you have to try it out.
Very
That
true. Very
you
true, sir.
can,
Such a wonderful
and
thing.
add eggs to it. So I discuss recipes with them. For
Right.
one more thing that I tell them, that in case you want to eat a uttappa, you
Hmm.
make a thin dosa, a very thin dosa, and on top
Hmm.
of it, you just break two eggs and put it over there. So
Correct.
it fluffles up like a soft uttappa, and it tastes nice. You
Yeah.
add a little bit of cheese and veggies to it, and it feels as if you are really going to eat a pizza
Such a
that has
wonderful
a
recipe,
thin
doctor.
dosa as a base,
So true.
two eggs, and then on that you put all the veggies and cheese. What's wrong with
Complete
that?
meal. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
complete meal. So
Yeah.
one is usually enough, but if you have an appetite, you eat two. That's also fine. But then that has reduced the carbs to its minimum.
Correct. Correct.
That is what I have seen. And people do it
Yeah.
and they like it. Then there
Right.
was one particular patient who came to me who had a kidney problem also, and he was obese. And
Hmm.
see, buttermilk is another fantastic substance that you can take for intermittent fasting. Now, buttermilk doesn't secrete insulin. Now, if I have
Right.
done tests on myself to see that if
Hmm.
you drink buttermilk on an empty stomach and check your serum insulin level, it doesn't rise. So,
Correct.
if you are hungry in the morning, say at breakfast time, and you want to eat something or drink something, you drink buttermilk, plain
Buttermilk.
buttermilk, and it will really help you, because people say that how come milk will increase your sugar and buttermilk will not increase your sugar. So look,
Hmm.
I tell them that look, milk contains a sugar called lactose, and when you
Yeah.
ferment it, when you add a culture to it and make a fermentation, so make curds out of it, the yeast consume all the lactose and make it
Lactose.
lactose free. And then
Correct.
once you add water to it and then dilute it, it is half cooked and easy to digest. Plus, it
Correct.
increases in volume. So the moment you drink it, your stomach gets filled. It gets filled up, and you get
Yeah.
a feeling of fullness. And then you're able to sort of overcome that feeling of hunger. Though the pangs go away.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
And it is also because of a hormone called ghrelin. So if you take a little bit of buttermilk at that time, then the ghrelin levels go down and your appetite also goes down.
Goes down.
So it is
Correct.
that particular 1 hour of time when in the morning at 9 to 10 when you feel hungry. But then you go beyond that, then you can go beyond up to lunchtime, even up to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you don't feel hungry at all. And that way,
Wow.
this particular person, I told him to carry a 1.5 liter bottle of buttermilk when he goes out of
Hmm.
his room, and
Hmm.
directly, have lunch or even skip lunch if possible, and have only dinner. So one meal a
Correct.
day pattern also helped him, and he lost about 20 kilos, and he was so
Wow.
fit, absolutely afterwards, that he had no issues, and his
Super. Super.
medicines for kidneys also came down. But then for this, you have
Ah.
to sit and reason and talk with the patient, which
Correct. Lot of
unfortunately
counseling.
too
Are
many
not
doctors
doing.
don't have. And
Yeah.
what I have seen is that when people come to doctors, then they are having a little more, sort of trust and faith, because more than anything else.
Correct. True. Very
And
true.
that is how it works out.
Yes. That's
Uh,
so wonderful.
yeah, so these are the issues about diet
Wow.
and
We should,
exercise.
in fact, you've shared so many interesting facts today. I think people, if you start implementing even these small points, our population will start losing fat and becoming fit. Because you showed them a very easy way along with some nice
Yeah,
recipes. Wonderful.
correct.
So guys,
I
I
have I
really
have
this will
a
help.
I have a concept of counseling consultation, where I usually continue to consult with the patient for about 3 to 6 months. And then I share
Uh-huh.
various recipes of YouTube, which I feel are really very healthy. And I tell him
Right.
to try it at home, and they're very simple recipes made of non-vegetarian or vegetarian food, where
Correct.
I'm a foodie. I do like to
Right.
eat good food.
Correct.
So I'm able to understand, that yes, this recipe will be good and all that. So that's the way things
Wonderful.
work out. And
Oh,
really,
that's
if I'm able to continue to counsel them for 6 months, it makes a lot of
right.
uh, effect on their lifestyle and their thinking.
So true. So true. Wonderful, doctor. Thank you for sharing this interesting facts. And I think
Yeah.
this video is going
Do
to
we
be
have a
really
little
helpful to a
time?
lot of
Do we
people.
have a little
Yeah,
more
yeah, we
time?
do. We do. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Okay. So now one more thing that I would like to share and tell people, especially from the fitness industry,
Hmm.
is that I get many a times people who come to me with erectile dysfunction, and then
Correct.
upon a detailed history, I find out that they have been given testosterone hormone sometimes by their own physical trainers,
Trainers.
which I
Yes.
believe is really very wrong, because testosterone as a hormone is really, really very dangerous to use in a young man.
Right.
Now, what
Right.
happens is that there is something known as a HPA axis, which is the
Hmm.
hypothalamic pituitary and adrenal axis within the human body, and
Right.
the hormone testosterone, which is secreted by the pituitary gland and the hypothalamic area of the by the pituitary gland. So
Hmm.
Basically, what happens is that if you give exogenous testosterone, that means that if you give testosterone from outside in the form of
Outside.
injections or medicines or tablets, then what
Hmm.
happens is that the body starts producing less testosterone on its own. So it's like a seesaw. So if you
Correct.
give more testosterone from outside, then the body will still reduce its own testosterone production. And it'll,
Correct.
sort of sometimes the testes get suppressed to such a level that then after you reduce this, they cannot produce again.
Right.
And then they land up in problems. So if you see in the 70s and 80s and 90s, when East Germany was becoming, a sort of a Olympic champion, they used to, such a small country, it's smaller than half of Maharashtra, but it was
Yeah.
cornering all the medals in Olympics. But what they found out later was that all those athletes were given hormones and pumped up, and then they were able
Yeah.
to deliver the results, yes. But then
Hmm.
why? But afterwards they had huge problems of of not getting children and all
Yeah.
that. So this
Correct.
is something which I always tell people who are in the fitness industry to please avoid as much as possible. Do not give
Yes.
testosterone. You can give pure albumin. You can tell the person to eat 10 eggs a day just without the yellow. In
Correct.
fact, most of the people who are bodybuilders in the United States, they buy albumin by the liter. There are 2 liter
Correct.
and 4 liter cans of albumin, of
Yes.
purified
Yes.
albumin, and then they just take albumin and you work out.
Right.
And
Yes.
that has to be done at an early age. You cannot start it at very late age. Your body, your bone structure also should be strong enough to support the muscle. If you have a weak
True.
and a thin bone structure, then your muscles will never develop. But then you should have to accept the fact that something comes to you from your genes. If your
Right.
parents are very thin and frail, and this has been found out, in the Second World War, those prisoners of war who are malnourished,
Hmm. Hmm.
their children and then their children for 3 generations, they continued to remain weak. But then afterwards, when they were given a proper diet of fish, eggs, meat, vegetables and all those things, then they
Hmm.
started becoming stronger again. In fact, if you see the East European countries,
Hmm.
why are
Hmm.
they strong and tall? That's because their diet consists mainly of meat. We cannot eat the
Correct.
amount of meat that they eat. They eat a quarter
So
pound
true.
of meat at one time, and they're able to digest it. But then that they have been doing for generations on end. And
Correct.
they eat only a little bit of potato and maybe a little bit of carbohydrate in that form or vegetables or something.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
our case, what we are doing is we are eating too much of cereals, like rice and
Correct.
wheat and
Yes.
all the others. Rice and wheat, especially rice and
Yes.
wheat.
Yes. Yes. And
So
both are included in the
these,
food.
correct.
Yeah.
So those are the important things which I wanted to share about health
So
and
true.
again I told you about sexuality. If your testosterone hormone goes down, if your prolactin levels go up, then obviously your desire is going to get affected. And our body is
Correct.
like a chemical factory. You know, it
Correct.
it is like a chemical computer, I would say. So
Hmm.
these issues, about how your body works, especially at the level of the brain and at the level of your actual hardware, which is your whole body. It is
Right.
amazing to study, and I think we will have definitely one more session on that issue also, where I will explain to you how the
Absolutely.
body works like a super biological computer, and especially when it comes to sex, how your
Right.
sex drive increases, how it goes down, why it goes down. So all those things I can explain to you a little bit later.
Perfect. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that in the next session, actually. Very
Right.
interesting topic.
Sure.
And what you discussed today is so true. You'll be surprised. I have seen it in a lot of gyms. I used to do a lot of audits in gyms, and we have got a lot of trainers giving steroids and giving testosterone to even members. And we tried to reason with the members as to why are you going to participate in Olympics, or why do you want to go for it? Just to and how what and they were not even aware of what are the effects later on that will come to them. So such a wonderful point. I'm going to share this video with all the fitness industry guys, and you have explained it so nicely. So I hope that people really get to know that even if the trainer is suggesting you, you need to say no and
Yeah.
speak to your doctor before taking any step of any this kind.
I don't
Thank
mind
you.
you
Thank you for
giving
that.
multivitamins, minerals,
Right.
vitamin
Right.
C, vitamin E, whatever else. Vitamin preparations are fine. The herbal preparations
Yeah.
are okay. because herbal
Correct.
preparations are not in the purified and the concentrated form. There are some
Correct.
herbs which are they sort of stimulate your body to produce testosterone. That
Right.
is okay.
Yeah.
But giving pure testosterone is by far more harmful than anything else, because that we reserve for those people in the very old age where their hormones have gone down. And then in that
Right.
case, we do give testosterone. But again, we do it with a lot of care. I always involve an endocrinologist, for
Correct.
his this thing, because see, finally, the medical practice, even as a matter of fact, sexology also is a team game. I cannot
Correct.
prescribe all medicines for everyone. If I feel I need
Right.
help from others, I do take help from others, and then that
True.
helps a
True.
lot.
Yes. Wonderful, doctor. Thank you for sharing that. And today's points have really been very interesting, and I'm sure it is going to create a lot of awareness in people. So
Yeah,
see you again in the next episode of Fitness
right.
Talks with Anand, and let's continue with this talk. And I think
Sure.
next time we can talk more about how the body is a biological supercomputer and
Yeah,
how exercise plays a role into having better sexual activity. So
sure.
thank you, doctor. Thank
Yeah.
you for your time, and it's such an honor to have you.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye. So friends, that
Was Dr. Sathe with us, the renowned sexologist. All of his, if anybody needs his details, he was there online, so you can have his Instagram handle, message him, or you can message us and we'll connect you to them. Uh, Really, premarital counseling is so important. Uh, we got to know that in these past two sessions with him, and how he's really helped people change their lives and have successful marriages. Also, the point of being healthy in order to have a better sexual life, exercising in order to have a better sexual life, obesity. He's given some wonderful tips on obesity, how buttermilk works. So, this is a wonderful episode, and I wish all of you to please do watch it and try and implement it in your lives. And for more detailed consultation, please directly connect to Dr. Sathe or let us know and we'll connect you to him. And also, if you have any questions, please write to us and we'll ask him in the next session, next episode, where we can clear your questions out. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening, guys. Once again, I'll repeat this Fitness Talks with Anand. We are having it on the platform of ISFS, that is ISST School of Fitness Sciences, in association with UHFF, that is United Health and Fitness Federation, the first fitness federation registered in India for fitness industry. So, guys, please take good care of yourselves. Be safe. Be in your house. Please make sure that you wash your hands every time before you're having your food or you're touching your mouth. Wear the mask, and yes, make sure you are wearing the mask over the nose and the mouth, not only the mouth. So, all the best, guys. Take good care of yourselves and be healthy. Exercise. Eat healthy. Take care. See you in the next